The sound of rain echoed across the city that night, soft, cold, and secretive. It was the kind of rain that washed away sins, or so people thought. Inside a luxurious restaurant, where chandeliers sparkled like frozen stars, a man sat alone by the window. His name was Ethan Cole, charming, well-dressed, and every inch the gentleman any woman would dream of. But Ethan carried something the rain could never wash away, a past wrapped in lies. That night marked the beginning of the story that would change his life forever. The story of the Hidden Vows. Ethan had grown up in the rough side of the city, where dreams were often crushed under the weight of poverty. He wanted more, not just survival but luxury, power, and comfort. And he had learned early that the world respected money more than honesty. Years ago, Ethan had married Lydia, a kind-hearted nurse who had stood by him when he had nothing. But life with Lydia was hard. Bills piled up and Ethan's hunger for success grew stronger than his love. When his small business failed, he walked out, promising to return. But he never did. Months later, he met Miranda Blake, a woman born into unimaginable wealth. Her father was a real estate tycoon, and her name opened doors to places Ethan had only seen in magazines. Miranda was elegant, educated, and searching for love, not money. Ethan saw that, and crafted the biggest lie of his life. When she asked if he had ever been married, he smiled faintly and said, "Once, but she passed away years ago." Miranda's eyes softened, and her sympathy became affection. From that day, Ethan's charm and lies built him a bridge into her heart, and her father's empire. Their wedding was the talk of the city. Cameras flashed, champagne flowed, and people whispered about how lucky Ethan was to marry the beautiful heiress. Lydia, the woman he had abandoned, saw the news online. She froze, her heart breaking as she saw Ethan smiling beside another woman, the same man who had sworn eternal love to her. She didn't want revenge. She only wanted the truth to be known. But Lydia was pregnant. And she feared that if she came forward, her child would live with shame. So she remained silent, for a while. Meanwhile, Ethan moved into Miranda's mansion. Every night, guilt whispered in his mind like a ghost, but he silenced it with luxury, with wealth, and with the illusion of love. He had everything he ever wanted, except peace. 2 years later, Miranda and Ethan became one of the city's most admired couples. They hosted charity events, appeared on magazine covers, and lived what many called a perfect life. Until one evening. During a hospital charity gala, Miranda met a woman volunteering at the medical booth, Lydia. The two women chatted warmly until Lydia introduced herself. "I'm Lydia Cole." Miranda blinked. "Cole? You're married?" Lydia smiled sadly. "Not anymore. My husband left me years ago, a man named Ethan Cole." The world stopped. Miranda's heart pounded. She forced a smile, but her mind was spinning. That night, when Ethan returned home, he found Miranda sitting silently in the dark. She held up a photograph, his old wedding photo, printed from the hospital's public display board. "Who is she, Ethan?" she asked coldly. His lips trembled. He tried to lie again, but his voice failed. "Miranda, I can explain." "Don't. I just want the truth." And for the first time, Ethan couldn't run from it. He confessed everything, how he left Lydia, how he lied, how he married Miranda for wealth, and how he thought he could bury the past forever. Miranda didn't cry. She simply stood, looked at him with silent disgust, and said, "You buried your past, Ethan, but you also buried your soul." The next day, news broke that Ethan Cole, the successful businessman, had been removed from the Blake family company. Miranda's father disowned him, and within weeks he lost everything: his mansion, his position, and his respect. He tried to reach out to Miranda, but she ignored him. He even went to Lydia, hoping she'd forgive him. She looked at him kindly and said, "I forgave you a long time ago, Ethan, but forgiveness doesn't mean we can go back." He wanted to cry, but tears could no longer wash his guilt. With nowhere to go, Ethan returned to the same small apartment he had once shared with Lydia, only now it was empty, cold, and silent. He stared at his reflection in the window, whispering, "I had it all, and lost it to a lie." Years passed. Ethan lived quietly, working at a small community center teaching young men about integrity and truth. He had learned, too late, that money could buy comfort but never character. One day a young man asked him, "Sir, do you regret lying to become successful?" Ethan smiled sadly and replied, "A lie may open the door to a palace, but it will always lock your peace outside." The boy nodded thoughtfully, and Ethan knew, maybe, just maybe, his mistakes could still build someone else's truth. Miranda later married a kind man who loved her for who she was, not for her wealth. Lydia raised her child with pride, teaching him that truth is the seed of peace, even when it grows slowly. As for Ethan, he never remarried. He spent his final years helping others avoid the same path he once walked, a road paved with lies and loneliness. And on a rainy night years later, he wrote a final note before closing his eyes. Love built on lies will always crumble. A broken truth can still heal, but a hidden vow destroys the soul. Moral lessons. 1. Lies may give temporary comfort, but truth gives lasting peace. 2. The past always returns, not to destroy you but to remind you of what you should have learned. 3. Love without honesty is like a house built on sand, beautiful but doomed. 4. You can escape from people but you can never escape from your conscience.